I'm going to tell you a long story about a man who caught his wife cheating. Relax and see how this one goes. I don't know what to do. I am clueless. I didn't notice the signs that were there. Love made me stupid, and I never thought this would happen to me. I have been married to her for almost 20 years, and she is my best friend. I thought I wouldn't be back until tonight because I work out of town. Our 2-week road trip was set to start tomorrow. My work was slow yesterday, so I went home in the afternoon. We needed some time to ourselves this summer after spending so much time with family and friends. It was strange to see a truck in my yard when I got home. My friend asked me how I liked the new truck not long ago, but I didn't think much of it because I thought he was mistaken. Instantly I saw the truck, I had a bad feeling. While I loved and trusted my wife deeply, that feeling was still very strong. Sneaking up the side of the house, I got to the window in our bedroom. Their sounds could be heard as I got closer. My worst fear came true when I looked out the window. There they were on my bed, naked as can be. I turned around and left. There's a strong drive in me to do something I know I will regret. Right now it's hard for me to care about what happens to me. At night, I drank everything at my family's house. I was on my way home today to talk to her, but I chose not to. I'm not prepared. My only emotion is anger. Guns are all I can think about. Today I'm not feeling well. I am not sufficient to see her. I've now returned to the house. I have looked at my 60-ounce bottle of rum for an hour. I want to drink and forget about this, but I don't want to pick bad things to do while drunk. I know that what I do in the next few days will have a big impact on the rest of my life. My reason for being here is this. I require help. Since I'm not ready to talk to family or friends, I'm going to talk to people I don't know. Get out of this world. Update 1. It's hard to believe how much help and support I got. When I thought about how many kind people are willing to help a stranger, it made me cry. Just when I needed some hope. It gives me some. All of this help is making it hard for me to reply to people. I still need to read more than 600 private messages and a few hundred replies. I'm going to try to thank everyone separately, but it will take a while. So let me start by saying a big thank you to everyone for their nice messages and practical advice. I appreciate it very much. I've noticed that a few comments and questions keep coming up, so I wanted to add some explanation to my small update. Today I feel a lot better, in case you can't tell. It was almost like the pain was gone. Even though I still feel like I was punched in the gut, I've started to think about next steps. It's been 2 days, so I don't think this is acceptable. Is this the quiet before the storm, or am I just incredibly strong? Based on the comments and questions I've gotten, here are some cliff notes to help you understand. When I said wife and best friend, I meant that my wife was both those things to me. It wasn't my best friend or even someone I knew, that other guy. I didn't get a good look at him, but based on what I saw of his car, I don't think this is someone I know. There are no children in our family. But we had planned to have them soon. When the new owners take over in September, we'll be moving closer to my job since we just sold our house. Like he did for me, I'm going to thank my friend in a quiet way. Many people have asked me about the signs I talked about missing. From memory, these are a few. Didn't normally text late at night. Drinks with friends after work every day. Her usual self would not act this way. I was glad she was being friendly though. She did yoga once a week. But it looks like she wasn't paying for it because one of her coworkers taught it and she helped set up and clean up. Also, I thought she was stiff for someone who did yoga. Mystery caller hangs up. When we are nearby, we often answer each other's phones. This happened more than once. An unknown caller would hang up as soon as I answered. Many calls are scams, but most of the time they are from telemarketers or debt collectors trying to find the previous owner of the number. We're still working on the fix. Our conversation was very long when my brother came over. His friendship has been my truest, and I realized I need to always remember that. I need to know that he will always be there for me without judging, just like I would be there for him. Even though we fight sometimes, he really shows me what a real friend is. I decided to answer my wife's text because I was expected to be home last night. Since phones aren't allowed on site, it made sense for me to only text her. She is aware that I can easily send some texts without her knowing. I wrote her a letter telling her I couldn't call her until the end of the weekend because I had to go to one of my company's faraway sites. I told her I was going to cancel all the plans and make new ones later. She said her best friend could go with her this weekend to the romantic bed and breakfast on a farm that I had reserved. When she told me that her best friend was going, I knew it wasn't true. It was non-refundable, so I told her I had already given it to my brother and his wife. They said they would pay me back in a month. I canceled all of my plans this morning except for the romantic one. I was bringing my brother. We were lucky that the hotel let us change our room from the wedding suite to one with 2 beds. There is a beautiful lake nearby where you can rent boats, So this turned into a long overdue fishing trip with my brother. For the weekend, I'm free. For a few days, I don't have to write or call her, which makes me feel better and gives me more time to think. At the moment, I want to get a divorce. There's no other way I can see it. While my brother agrees with this, he has asked me to wait a few weeks and talk to someone. The wife of his boss has a friend who works with couples and is free to talk to me on Monday. It probably won't change my mind, but it could help me figure out some of this mess. Like a lot of other people have said, I'm starting to talk to lawyers. In any case, to get ready for what I think is going to happen. I am determined to complete this task successfully. She's never been someone I thought would try to cheat on me, but I also never thought she would. I think I should be ready for anything. Another big thank you to everyone. I shall endeavor to savor my weekend with greatest pleasure. Second update. The last few days have been busy. I'll begin with the less considerable matters. Matt, my brother, and I drove to the BB on the vineyard for almost 5 hours. Thank you so much for being there for me during this. Even though it was mostly just a way for me to vent, it really helped me clear my mind. I just wanted some time to myself while he went out to dinner, because I had been complaining to him for most of the drive. He went to eat and brought me some food back to the room while I stayed there. The next day, he was also able to steer a boat. On Saturday, we went out on the water. The proprietor of the bed and breakfast knew that we were going fishing and was kind enough to prepare a small box with food and drinks for us. It was how they managed to make the love package better for two brothers. That was a nice thing to do. It was bad to fish. The snacks from the BB were great because we both caught some fish that we had to release because they were too big. Around noon, we stopped fishing and drove to all the fruit stands and wineries to buy food and wine for Jen, Matt's wife. Later that night, we found the biggest tomahawk steak we could find. It was Sunday when we went back to Matt's place. It takes him about an hour to get to his house from mine, which is in the town next door. We sat down and cracked open a bottle of white wine that we had chilling in the cooler when we got there. Jen was already there. For me, this was the end of the weekend. Jen told me that she went to spy on my wife while we were away. She told me the guy stayed at my place all night on Friday, but she got there just as he was leaving on Saturday morning. After following him home, she found the room he lived in. That was where my wife stayed on Saturday night. She texted me at the same time to tell me she loves and misses me. Jen told me she was visiting family in my town and following my wife around at the same time. On Sunday morning, she said she saw my wife leaving his apartment and took a few pictures of them kissing and hugging before she got into her car. They are not someone I want to see. Basically, that made the deal for me. I don't think I could trust her again if it's so easy for her to say she loves me while being with someone else. Despite this, I have chosen not to react quickly and emotionally. I need to handle things calmly. Jennifer then told me that Sharon was coming over for dinner. Christine is the counselor that Jen set up a meeting for me with. Please understand that she has never met my wife, and this is my first time meeting her too. Our relationship was great because Sharon was a nice person. After dinner, Sharon and I walked the dogs and had a quiet chat while walking around Matt's neighborhood. I felt safe around Sharon because she was a good listener. Being so honest about how I felt helped me feel better, even though I feel at ease with my brother. This was something different and very important. The same reason I like creating this on Reddit. Event training helps me get some of my thoughts straight. Sharon's only real piece of advice to me during our hour-long walk was not to put off talking to my wife. According to her, it will get harder to talk to her about this the longer I wait. According to her, I need understanding more than anything else right now, and my wife is the only one who can give it to me. In the evening, Jen and Matt invited me to stay with them for as long as I needed to. Because Matt and I have a time limit on living together, I talked to my boss about getting me a place to live with the company. It's been a while since I stayed there every other week, but I have to leave on my days off. I could stay full-time for a few months if I needed to, and he made it work. I chose to make a new reservation with Sharon for later this week. I thought that our walk would be enough for the first meeting. There was no problem. Overnight on Sunday, I just laid in bed and thought about what to do. This was hard for me because even the made-up situation in my head made me sad or angry. I chose to go with the flow. I'm usually good when things get tough. When I woke up yesterday, I said goodbye to Matt and Jen. It crossed my mind as I drove home that he might be there when I got there. Later, I believed it would probably only make me more angry than I was before. First, I chose to do a drive-by. There was no sign of his truck or my wife's car. Going inside, I got a lot of important things and things I don't want to lose. Just a few pictures and old family items. After putting them all in my truck, I went to the guy's room. Both of her cars weren't there. He had a truck. I wrote to her to find out where she was. She told me she was going to get food. I don't trust her at all right now. So I went by the food store and made sure she was there. It makes me feel bad to say that I did that, But there's nothing I can be sure of now that my trust has been broken. This time I wrote to her again and told her to come home right away so we can talk. She answered. What's wrong? I replied that she should be ready to be honest, then turned off my phone. It took her 15 minutes to get home. As usual, she came over to hug and kiss me when she got in. I stopped looking at her. It happened again, so I told her she needs to start telling me the truth. I'm done chatting. Oh, you mean the weekend before, when I went out with friends for drinks and got home late? I thought that upset you. It didn't occur to me that she had drinks or was out late. I was 2 hours away at work. Was that also a lie, or is that what you really did that night? In the evening, I went out for drinks but did not see. The person she said she was with that night was her best friend. That person you saw. Nothing. Just drinking by myself. What are you drinking by yourself? Okay then. This could be a problem for me. Potentially. After this, we'll talk about that. Last opportunity. Truthfully answer, or I'll leave. Oh, sorry, I'm done chatting. All right, I'm packing up. This is when I got up and left. When we fight, I usually take a drive to get away from her. Most likely, she thought this was the same. Next, she found out I had taken my clothes, toiletries, and Xbox. Thereafter, she started blowing up my phone. She didn't respond to my offer to be honest, so I don't have anything else to say. I was urged by her to go home and talk about this with her in person. She answered that she didn't know what I did or why I was so mad. It was over and over again that she loved me and would never hurt me. Listening to her say that really hurt me. I always believed the words because they made me feel better. Now it feels like a dull, jagged knife is cutting through my heart in the worst way. I was unable to manage it. So I put the phone down. I had to wait about 40 times before I could answer the phone again. In this case, she asked, "Did you talk to Karen, greatest friend of hers?" This is why she told me to go home when I asked. "Call me later, please." I concurred. Drove around for a little longer to slowly lower my heart rate. Later I went home. What happened in that conversation? I guess you talked to Karen? There was nothing I said. Actually, we went out for drinks a few weeks ago while you were at work. Some guys started to buy us drinks, so we didn't say anything. As we were leaving, one of the guys tried to kiss me. I quickly moved away and told him I was married. I wanted to tell you how sorry I was, but I'm a fool and chose to keep it from you. Karen began dating the other guy and gave my number to his friend without asking me first. Although I've texted him a few times since then, I have never replied. Is her phone available? Absolutely. Her phone was empty of texts, except for those from me and her mother, which she showed me. I didn't know she deleted her texts before. The pictures she had on her phone were also clean, but when I looked through the ones she had deleted, I saw one of a guy I didn't know. What person is this? Individual who made an effort to kiss me is that person. Why did you image him? I actually did something stupid. That isn't an explanation. Why did you image him? I am uncertain. Are you still wanting to tell me something? That's the only thing I can consider. After another time, I left. It was too much for me to handle being trickle-truthed. As soon as I got in my truck, I drove off. I was already out of reach when she ran outside to try to stop me. I took my lunch to a nearby park and sat on my trunk while I thought about what to do next. I began to remember other things I should have paid more attention to while I was there. For example, she acted like she didn't know what I was talking about. Okay. If you can't be honest, I'm leaving, I told them. This made her freak out, so she asked, "Are you talking about yoga?" It seemed like a good start. She told me she hadn't been going to yoga when I asked her what she meant. Here are some of the other parts of the talk. Where were you going if not to yoga? Since I've been so worried lately, I was going for walks to calm down. Do you know why you were so stressed? In addition, why did you lie to me about what you were doing? I wanted to tell you that getting ready for the move was making me feel stressed, but I didn't know how. That means you chose to lie? Just wondering why you were worried when you told me you were going for a walk to relax. That wasn't my intention. I was scared that my stress would make you even more stressed. Not worried, though. What you're saying doesn't seem to be complete. What do you suggest? More than just missing yoga, I think you're telling lies. Please tell the truth. Again. We can't do this if you keep lying because you've already lied to me. My wife said she looked for her for a while but gave up and had a drink with her friends in the kitchen while she waited. She said her phone wasn't ringing when I called. We had an argument about this, and she didn't like what her friend did, so she cut that friend out of her life. That appeared to be over. At another time, she went to a different place to see a close friend. This was supposed to be a girls' night. 4 girls were drinking and watching movies in their pajamas. At least that's what I was told. After this, she called me around midnight to say goodnight. She told me over and over that they were having a great girls' night while we talked for about 20 minutes. Later, I heard a man's voice in the background. When I asked her who it was, she first said she hadn't heard anything. It did it again, this time loudly. It was true, so she said, "Oh yeah, X took a couple of guys with her. Everyone in this room is really mad about it. She had been drinking for 3 hours. Needless to say, I had to trust her. That and the fact that she wouldn't tell me they were there caused another fight between us. She said she would never do something like that again. That clearly did not stick. I was ready to give this one last try after thinking about all of those things and the times we talked about them. After I turned my phone back on, it rang almost right away. When I answered, she yelled at me to go home. It was time for me to go home. When I walked inside, she was already crying in front of me. She kept telling herself, "I'm so sorry," from the couch. I questioned her. "What do you feel sorry for?" Like crazy, she started rocking back and forth. She needed 5 minutes to get her breath back before she could talk. The guy who tried to kiss me was not who I said he was. Okay, tell me what went down. In fact, the 4 of us went back to his place that night. We used our time foolishly. Knowing it was more than that made me feel dizzy just hearing her say it. Things were getting louder and the room seemed to be getting smaller. Feeling like I had a panic attack. Until things got back to normal, I went to the bathroom and washed my face with cold water. What were you doing? Do you really want me to explain? Absolutely. Okay, let's not talk about the graphic details. It was bad. Do you think that was it? Absolutely. I will no longer play this game. Give me all the information right now, or we won't talk again. For a few more minutes, she couldn't speak because she started crying again. Our sex happened again after we met. Thanks for understanding. I'm sorry for what happened and I love you. Not more than once. Do anything you think I can do to make up for it if I tell you the truth. Please be nice. I'll assume it. A relationship happened. We hooked up while you were at work out of town. We've been having this problem for almost a month. He's married, but his wife wants to end the marriage soon. Do you think he knows you're married? Absolutely. Were you thinking that our marriage was failing if he was having an affair? Could that be what you told him? Actually, I don't believe ours is failing. I'm so dumb. I feel bad about myself. Do not depart from my side. I recognize this and can fix it, no matter what you want. If you were me or his wife, what would make this better? Being able to trust that you mean what you say means knowing the truth. I'm trustworthy. This is what I did wrong. If you were his wife, wouldn't you want to know the truth? I'll take care of it. Do you want me to call her? If you think that is what you would want, she tried calling, but never got an answer. A few minutes later, her cell phone rang. It was listed as Karen work. She looked shocked, so I knew that wasn't Karen. I asked if it was him. She said it was. I answered. And being the coward he is, he said, "Oops, I must have the wrong number." I said, "No, this is the husband of the girl you've been cheating with. I'm going to let you speak to her because she has something to say to you." I passed the phone to her. I told him everything. He knows the entire truth. We're done. It was just a fling, and now you need to never contact me again. I asked to see the phone before she hung up. What divorce lawyer are you using? I'm not getting divorced. Oh, but you didn't tell your wife that you were? No. Okay, then can I speak to your wife? I feel she has as much right to know about this as I do. Please, man. I didn't know she was married. Don't ruin my marriage over mistake. You ruined mine over a mistake. It's only fair that I tell your wife. Please don't. She's at work right now. I will tell her everything when she gets home. I swear. Okay, you do that. That's where I hung up. I requested that my spouse inform me of the workplace and name of his spouse. Of course she did. Her husband called her to see if she was okay at work. She was able to call her, and I told her to sit down. That person told my wife she would call her back from her car because she was about to leave for the day. Of course she did. She is his wife. What is happening? I love my wife. Please do not make any noise while I tell you something very bad. Don't go driving. Seriously, thank you. Happen to. Call him by that name, not at all. Currently he is at your place. For the past month we've been having an affair. I just told my husband the truth, and I thought you should get the same degree of respect. A minute later she spoke up. If this is some sick joke, I will find out who you are thereafter. She hung up. Not even 10 minutes later, Karen Work texted my wife and said, "Thanks. You just ruined my life." I called her and wrote back, "You completely ruined 4 lives and 2 marriages. Do not forget that this was your fault, you jerk." Every hour after that, my wife begged me to stay with her. She offered to help me with my problems, stay by my side forever, and even do sexual things for me. What I thought would happen did happen, thanks to the responses. That was her treat, she said. "Let's go on that trip." The reason she gave was that we need some time off. Thanks to my work schedule, we haven't been able to spend much valuable time together lately. Also, it was exactly what I thought she would say. I didn't think I would tell her that I went anyway. Additionally, She didn't expect me to inform her that I already have therapy scheduled for myself. She had no idea I was going to tell her I slept with her in my own bed. Most likely. She didn't think I would already have a place to stay. This is what I told her. She screamed and fell to the floor. It seemed like she didn't deserve to live. She told me I should kill her right now because she's unbearably bad for anyone else. That kept happening for a while. I stayed for 4 hours and listened to her make reasons and then try to hug, cuddle, or even do sexual things for me if I would just stay with her and work through this. I finally called Karen and told her that her friend who was cheating on her is thinking about committing suicide and that Karen should come watch over her. After that, I went away. We haven't talked since that happened almost a whole day ago. All day she's called and texted me. Today, her family and friends have called and texted me a lot. There's always a new reason or request for understanding. I only got a letter from her father telling me to do what's best for me and that he will always love me like a son, no matter what. The first time since this all started that reading made me cry hard. I have appointments with Sharon, my psychologist, and a lawyer on Thursday. You may already know where this is going. But I won't know for sure until it does. The last change. This past week had a lot going on. My brother's house and camp have been switching places with me. I don't want to be a bother to them, so I only stay at night when I have an early meeting. It's been really helpful that my company lets me take a few weeks off for personal reasons. I kept going to see Sharon, the therapist. So far, I've seen her 3 times. Anyway, I feel better than I did last week, so even though I don't think our talks are very useful, I see them as a chance to get some things off my chest. As a result, I will continue for now. Yesterday, Thursday, I talked to an attorney. With their help, I made a list of all my assets, debts, and money. Then I asked the bank to put a hold on our accounts so that no one can take money out without the other person being there. Since both of us get paid through personal funds, this won't stop us from getting new money. It was just, old money that was shared. The lawyer did tell me not to talk to her until I gave her the papers, but it's too late now. Throughout the week, my wife, her family, and her friends called and texted me almost nonstop. Over the weekend, my sister-in-law planned a cabin get-together for our family. I went home and had to tell my family the big secret. At least now it's out in the open, and they can help me get better. Until Saturday night, everything was going as well as it could. Around 8 o'clock, my brother, Dad, and I were sitting by the fire with my wife when her car pulled up. Matthew, my brother, told me he would handle it. Dad and I chose to take a walk around the land, where we wouldn't be seen from the driveway. I could hear my wife yelling at my brother to get out of the way as we were just getting into the trees. There were some friends with her, and they were also yelling at Matt, telling him to calm down, even. Though he tried hard, they were just too much for him to handle. She sped past him and arrived right in front of us. He must have turned his head that way for her. She asked my dad to deal with her, but I said I would, for ease of use. Let's call my wife Kate. She ran over to me crying. Right away, she reached out to hug me. I didn't stop her, but I also didn't hug her back. She pleaded with me to talk to her. I said yes, and to get some alone time, we walked around the property's paths. Kate tells me that the other guy's wife's divorced him. She told me that he called and said he was going to kill himself and put the blame on her. She says she told him to do it, but they haven't talked since. Kate then gets a piece of paper and starts writing down all the ways she is going to make things right with me. Again, she did all of these things on the first day. Everything from counseling for couples to calls for sexual favors. Then she surprised me. In her words, she doesn't want to live this way any longer. She told us both that she wants us to quit our jobs and move to another country. We've always talked about opening a small beach bar. She advised me to leave right away if I agreed to go with her. In this case, this is the only thing that came to mind last week when I was trying to picture my life after my divorce. I thought a full restart of everything would work. After all the work I put into making a big change, I might as well add another piece and do what I want. Once I heard that she wanted the same thing, I remembered how much I missed her and wanted to be with her. At that point, I knew I had to drop the subject. I led her to her car, where her friends were waiting. I informed her that I was open to talking on the phone, but they couldn't promise anything else. Feeling better, she left. Since then, every night we've talked on the phone, but it's always the same. There she is, crying and pleading for another shot. I disconnect because I'm mad at her for what she did. Right now I'm having a hard time because I miss her so much. I've lost my best friend of many years, and it's really hard to talk to someone else. It's heartbreaking to think that all of our dreams and goals have been thrown away. I merely desire to leave this place and commence a new existence somewhere else. She messed up my plans to be with her, which I want. I lost that because she took it away.